When I had a conversation with Tsepo Chabalala, I understood where he was coming from, and I also understood the recommendations that he gave, such as collaborative planning, capability development, public participation, and equity planning. At the same time, I had questions because he was also mentioning some of the problems that municipalities were facing. These challenges included the highly political landscape of planning, which often in municipalities such as Polokwane Municipality or Greater Guyana Municipality, which often now meet with traditional authority. And I found myself having questions of, if then this is the kind of context that planners can find themselves in, how do we make sure that the interventions that are made can come through? How do we make sure that if we are to establish a development corridor, how can we make sure that it actually benefits the people? This is why I decided to talk to Professor Mfaniseni to try and clarify these questions. Professor Mfaniseni Sihlongonyane is an associate professor at the University of the Witwatersrand, and he teaches planning theory, planning systems around the world, development theory, and local economic development. Professor Sihlongonyane spoke about how we have a range of interventions as planners. Let's take a listen.
CTPC. Those are theories of decision making. Okay. And so when it comes to issues where decisions need to be made, like a corridor needs to be established in a particular area, that's where you recommend collaborative plan to say, in the first instance, there has to be a consensus on how the corridor is going to operate, but with stakeholders drawing from the corridor itself, rather than a planner and expert in the modernist, rational, comprehensive planning sense, where a planner just sit there and then, this is going to be a corridor, and then they sell this to developers and whatever, and then they start seeing developments taking place.
I proceeded to ask Professor Mfaniseni Sihlongonyane, how do we actually make corridors work for people? And I discovered that his answer was not too different from what Tsepo Chabalala had mentioned. I also developed a deeper level of understanding in terms of why context is an important tool in planning.
Now, of course, the mainstream will say there should be participation of the local people. The local people should integrate their enterprises in the businesses that are going to be there. For example, if a mall is going to establish there, the mall can say, okay, 30% of the mall acreage will be shops exclusively dedicated to local people who want to do clothing, art, whatever. By so doing, we are encouraging locals as well to be part of the mall. Do you get what I mean? And the mall can be designed in such a way that it looks at what is available in the locality. If there are clothing designers, shoe designers, watch repairers, and so on and so forth. So you build this mall, and then you say, okay, you have this, you can do watch repairs here, you can do clothing here, 1, 2, 3, Of course they pay, but they're accommodated in the mall. Not in one place, I'm talking about anywhere in the mall, if you get what I mean. So there's integration of the local. But and then you can also provide special infrastructure that will support local businesses. This could be storage. It could be storage that will include refrigeration, things like that. For example, if I'm a local, let's say the mall went all the way to Zanini or wherever, and we've got avocados or whatsoever that will need refrigeration. So you provide the infrastructure for the people to refrigerate and run the business. So business support in terms of infrastructure, that will help a great deal. Obviously training the people so that skills are imparted on the local people. To say, okay, we've got a mall here, want to train you, or if you want to start a shop, this is how you run a shop. If you want to do fruits and veg, this is how we want to, because there are standards, certain standards of cleanliness, of the product being good, etc., etc. This is how you do it. So training is very, very important. Venture capital, some of them don't have money. So if the mall comes and says, okay, but we are going to offer, let's say 80,000 rand for everyone. If you're buying a bakkie or you're buying a car, we can give you 80,000 in order to run business here, etc., etc. Venture capital or government itself. Then that will be helping people to make the mall or the corridor viable. They don't have to all go to the mall. Some of them, it's a stretch. Some might say, I would like to run a complex, and then maybe 6 people come together, put their capital together, government comes in and support them with particular venture capital. Things like that. So that is what will make the mall in the conventional planning sense.
I find it important to highlight the fact that throughout my interview with Professor Mfaniseni Sihlongonyane, he kept emphasizing the inspiration that African planning derived from Western planning, which is something that I describe as using Western solutions to address African problems, which is something that in its own establishes a challenge to the planning field. That is all that I have for this episode. Thank you.